Hello and welcome to the Black and Blue FF Preview Week 8 edition. Hey man, pack on top, baby. We just keep staying right where we belong, which is not only on top of the NFC North, not only atop the NFC, but atop the NFL. We're the best of the best of the best, sir. All right, and it just happens to be Matt LaFleur's put together a great team. Arizona was a close game. I warned you last week that it was not going to be an easy win, that team was better than their record. Defensive-minded coach. They almost got there. Green Bay committed 10 penalties. We didn't help ourselves there, but 6 sacks. That's really the difference in the game, as Arizona was able to win basically every statistical category on offense. Micah Parsons coming through with those 3 sacks is, legitimately the difference in the game, and he was brought to Green Bay to be that difference maker, to be the person that gets us over the hump of perennial playoff disappointment. Okay? Speaking of perennial playoff disappointment, we got Aaron Rodgers this week. All right. He is now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he still is always going to have a fond spot, special spot in the heart of all us Packer fans. 15 years ago, the Steelers and the Packers met in the Super Bowl. Of course, we all remember how that one went. Jordy Nelson breakout game, as crazy as that is to say. This week, though, buckle that chin strap, Packers fans, because it is going to be a hard-hitting defensive game from Watt, from Ramsey, from Patrick Queen, from Cameron Hayward. They're going to want to come in and win this game with a little bit of extra time off, too. A little bit more time to prepare. Mike Tomlin showed that he's pretty good at this situation. I think, this game obviously means something for Aaron Rodgers playing in Pittsburgh, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to navigate. And it's a Sunday night game. The games that Rodgers just typically shines in. You know what? Rodgers has a mentor, though, Jordan Love. And what's so crazy about it is 15 years ago, Rodgers had to step it up after his second year, proving that he could take over for Favre. We're in the third year of Love taking over for Rodgers, same age, 27, as when Rodgers won the Super Bowl 15 years ago, 27. So it's a lucky number because Brett Favre also won the Super Bowl at 27, and so did the best quarterback of all time, the true GOAT, Bart Starr. All right, so let's just keep that momentum rolling and thinking about it. Love had 179, 1 touchdown. Jacobs had 55 and 2 touchdowns against Arizona. It was enough to get the job done. Dobbs, our leading receiver, 6 for 72. As I've told everybody, he's the alpha. He's our wide receiver. He's our stud. And Christian Watson coming back is not going to change that. We need to lock up Dobbs from the contract before he hits the free market because he's going to be difficult to replace. But, we're not worried about that right now. Right now, we're worried about week 8. How is he going to line up against the secondary? I mean, Pittsburgh looked great offensively. Last week looked terribly defensively. So I'm expecting a big game from Jordan Love. I think Jordan, it's a game for him to make the statement that the franchise made the right decision going with Love instead of continuing with the Rodgers. And I expect a good game from Rodgers. Essentially this game's going to come down to Love versus Rodgers, Jacobs versus Warren, Dobbs versus DK, Kraft versus all 3 of the tight ends for the Steelers, and Parsons versus Watt. And to top it off, Matt LaFleur versus Mike Tomlin. All right, two great coaches that like to run the ball, control the ball, and play great defense. Sunday night game. I don't think it could be much better. I'm extremely hyped for this game. Like I said, you're starting all your offensive guys with confidence. Love, Jacobs, Dobbs, Kraft. You're starting all those guys with confidence. Parsons. Expect a big game from Walker, as he's probably going to be covering a lot of these tight ends. Evan Williams, as well, is going to have another big game as an IDP front. But all you have to know is Green Bay wins this game on the road. It's going to stay on top of the NFC and try to lock up that number 1 seed. To tell us about the luckiest franchise in the NFC, here's my man, Andy.
Hey, who's got it better than a Bears fan, huh? Hottest team in football. That's 4 straight wins, coming off a double-digit victory over the New Orleans Saints. It was a win in which Caleb Williams was quiet, okay. And anytime Caleb Williams is quiet, you're going to see criticism of him, whether it's deserved or not. He didn't have a great game. He threw a pick, only 1 sack. He's still currently on pace to get sacked something like 33 times on the year, which is about a 50% reduction from his rookie season. This has been a pretty good year for Caleb. I know that's not the buzzy thing to say, but it's been a pretty good year for Caleb. What did they do against the Saints? They just ran the ball down their throats. They ground them to dust in the run game. 32 combined carries and over 200 rushing yards for DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Swift, of course, he's he's the clear number one. I see Monangai listed. Shoot, I wrote about him in the waiver wire column this week. You got to write about him. He had a productive day. He found the end zone. He was a fun player. I don't think it's going to look like that every week. The Bears had the luxury of giving two running backs a combined 30-plus carries. It's not always going to go that route. Swift had 20 touches in the game. He's the clear number one. There's not a scenario short of a DeAndre Swift injury in which Monangai leapfrogs him. He's a little undersized. He's a little slow. He's not perfect. They like him. Let's not take it any further than that. I don't think he's a guy that you need to shoehorn into lineups. I've seen people at least asking questions about whether they should be proactive about starting him in fantasy. I don't think we're there yet, but he's a good player. He's a good number two running back. That's what he is for the Bears right now. Now, the matchup ahead, it's the Baltimore Ravens. And normally you'd be a little bit freaked out about that maybe as a Bears fan, because the Ravens with Lamar Jackson at the controls are a dangerous team. It's not at all clear that Lamar is going to return in this one. They do have to travel to Baltimore. I guess that's a small concern. Derrick Henry, always a concern. There's plenty of playmakers associated with the Ravens, but if it's Tyler Huntley at quarterback or whoever, Cooper Rush, it's probably not going to happen for Baltimore. There's a good setup for the Bears. The Ravens defense is getting a little bit healthier. That should be good because they have been a bottom third defense on the year, vulnerable to the pass, vulnerable to the run. I don't know. There's a pretty good chance the Bears pull off a fifth straight victory here and remain the NFL's hottest team. You know it. I know it. It's well known.
Wow. Oh, just wow. Okay. What can you say? Detroit looked so good against the Bucks this week. Backup secondary? Who knew they were backups? They were so solid. You got to love what we saw from them this week. They were just so good. Now, yeah, Andy, the Bears are the hottest team in football. They really are. But Iggy's right. The Packers have the best one-loss percentage in the division. But the best team in the division is clearly the Motor City Madmen. There's just no doubt. With the entire backfield out, defensive backfield out, Detroit dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were one of the best offensive teams in the league. So, what do we expect this week? Well, Detroit's part of Buymageddon. They're going to be on bye, getting healthy, while everybody else is getting beat up. So we'll just have to wait and see what to expect from Detroit when they come back in Week 9. I do expect to get most of the injured players back this week. Brian Branch will be off suspension, so he'll be back. And Terry Arnold is expected to play in Week 9. We're probably not going to get DJ Reed back until Week 10, but I don't know. Those backups looked really good. And guess what? We got a running back that's making Detroit fans forget about Barry Sanders. Jahmyr Gibbs is really good. But with that said, you guys want to hear what to expect next week. And for us, we got nothing. So let's turn it over to JC to talk about the Vikings.
What's up, everybody? It's JC from the Sports Affiliation, and we are here to cover the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go. Well, actually, it's been kind of rough. It has been kind of rough. Vikings play this week tonight on Thursday Night Football, primetime game against the Los Angeles Chargers, who are on believe 3-game losing streak, and they have to get out of that hole. So let's talk about it. Let's see. Vikings, they are 3-3 this year. They're basically on a win-loss type of trajectory right now. But I think they are going to break that line and they are going to get a loss again this week. Let's listen here. Vikings don't look great. I mean, they can put up points and they can score, but once again, Carson Wentz, man, he just does not look good. he looks serviceable, but he's not great. He continues to throw the ball either behind your receivers or over their head, and it's getting to be annoying. And you can clearly see Kevin O'Connell get annoyed with him on the sideline. So this week, we're gonna see something crazy. We're gonna see some scoring. It's the over/under is 44.5. I believe we see over in that. We see the score is going to be over that. So definitely be taking the over. Well, we got a lot of people back, which is nice, but Van Geagle's still not back. So that's going to affect the defense. CJ Ham's not back as well. And there's a potential for Aaron Jones to be back this week. They did open up that 21-day window, so he could potentially play. I think you'll hear more about it as we get close to that, 90 minutes. Within 90 minutes of the game, you'll kind of hear a little bit what's going on there. But I honestly think that Harbaugh, in LA, they are going to get this win this week. We thought McCarthy would be back, but in all honesty, I don't think Kevin O'Connell started him for a reason. I don't think that he wanted him to go out and play against his former head coach. And that kind of says a little bit to me that I don't think JJ McCarthy is ready. Not just health-wise, but playing football as a starter-wise. Just my thoughts. I'm a little nervous on him. I just don't see him being as great as everyone else kind of sees. I think we're going to get a lot of that week 2 kind of football from JJ McCarthy instead of the quarter 4 week 1 football. Yeah, we'll get some flashes here and there, but I don't know, man. I just don't see it. Year 1 hurt all year. Now year 2 hurt majority of the year. So, injury prone is definitely something I'm going to be talking about. But anyways, let's just say they're going to hit the over tonight. So let's build a parlay real quick. And then I'll talk a little bit about some fantasy players you can play. But let's say the over-under, like I said, it's 44.5. So let's go over 44.5. Let's take Will Reichard for 2+ field goals because he's been, hitting them every week, and we've had to get to that point where we kick field goals to get points on the board. And also, let's take the money line. Let's take Chargers money line. So over 44.5, Chargers money line, and let's go Will Reichard for 2+ field goals. So let's play that. This week, Justin Jefferson, he's always somebody you play. He's going to get targets. He's going to put up yards. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's still going to be serviceable enough for you this week. Let's go back to Blake Cashman, man. I think his first week back last week, he didn't do extremely great, but I think this week he can get to the quarterback. We're not betting on it, but I say that he can definitely step up this week. Start Herbert, man. Herbert's going to be throwing a lot, and you're going to see Wentz throwing a lot. So if you need Wentz to play him. But I wouldn't just, throw him in there just because. But definitely fire up Herbert. Gradson, if you need, obviously, tight end this week, Oronde, man. He tore it up this last week for the Chargers. 27 points in a lot of fantasy leagues. Absolute stud, over 160 yards receiving. Tons of targets, so he definitely needs to be started. If you want to take him at anytime touchdown, I'm all for it. Take it. It's probably great odds in your favor. So why not just throw it in there if you want to? Addison, man, he's been an absolute stud, so he needs to be started every single week. If this kid was on another team as a wide receiver, as their wide receiver 1, he could definitely be their wide receiver 1. He's that good. I'm in all about him. I was drafting him all off season. Even though he had the 3-week suspension, he was definitely on my radar for being drafted because he shows out every single week. Let's get to it, man. I just don't see Vikings getting a win this week. It's sad to say that the Minnesota Vikings are the worst team in the NFC this year. So it's rough, but you got to stick with your team. So Skol Vikings, let's get a win if we can. But like I said, I see the Chargers beating us at SoFi this week. So I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate everyone stopping by to watch the Black and Blue Fantasy Football Preview Show with myself, Iggy, Greg Kellogg, and Andy Behrens. This has been a great project. So make sure you all stop by every single week. Check out all the shows we have throughout the week on our YouTube channel at the Sports Affiliation. And then also check out the website, sportsaffiliation.com. We've got articles coming out almost every day. IDP. We got basketball. Basketball started up, so check that out. And a lot of data content. So if you're looking for some data for betting, we've got some really good data from Dr. John Bush on there as well. So check out the website. And yeah, Skull Vikes, we're out of here. Peace, everybody.